All right. Welcome, everybody. It is 1:30 on the dot. I know that you all have busy schedules, so I will get right to this week's Wicked Smart webinar. Happy New Year, everyone. This is the first Wicked Smart webinar of the year, and I'm so excited for this topic because of all of the talk I heard at a conference last month. I was at a conference at Digital Marketer, who's one of the top digital marketing kind of educators in the world right now. And they had talked a lot about omnipresence and multi-channel marketing, which in marketing nerd talk is really exciting. But some of those can be a little bit kind of maybe 300 level, 400 level topics. But I wanted to really bring on a guest and an expert to help address kind of the how to just be everywhere your best customers are. And that is really omnipresence, just like essentially wherever your best customers go based on their buyer behavior, you're there. Your brand is there, your company is there, you're ready to solve their problems. So I am super excited about this topic. Just some housekeeping before we get started. My name is Andy Bonce. I'm the marketing manager for Midwest Family. We've been running the Wicked Smart webinar since about March of last year. And it's basically our goal is to bring in resources and experts and topics that are really relevant in today's world, or might just give you some light bulb moments and help you guide through all of the complications when it comes to deciding like what the heck do you want to do with your marketing. Because I'm sure if you're anything like most clients and customers of ours is that you have a small budget and you need to go a long way. So I'm excited about having Ian here today. This is being recorded and you will get the slides at about 24 hours. So sometime mid-afternoon tomorrow, you'll get the slides. This will be posted on YouTube. So if you want to share it with any colleagues or anything like that, you can do that. And if you have any questions, this is a small kind of intimate group, so feel free to add them to the chat box. I can share your camera and you can ask a question if it's going to be more of a dialogue too. We'll save about 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. But keep in mind, if as we go through some of this stuff, if it seems like it's a little over your head, a little bit more advanced, that's okay. Because we're here to help now, but also if you have questions afterwards, we can answer those too. Just reach out and you'll have an email address you can reach out to near the end. So without further ado, I will bring on Ian. Ian and I have known each other for a couple of years now. We're his agency, and we are both certified partners for Digital Marketer. So I'm excited about him jumping on. So Ian, go ahead and take the reins here. I'll let you share your screen, and we're excited about hear what you have to say.
Great. Thank you so much, Andy. And thank you everybody for being on and very much excited to be on and be able to go through some of what I think can be very helpful for small businesses. We work with a lot of small businesses, but as you can also see, and we'll see in the future in the slides that I'll go through, I've been there. I started my career as a small business owner, brick and mortar, helped my parents grow a very small bakery into multiple locations. So I think a big part of this comes from what I've done, not only with a client base, but also in real life to be able to get through, tough times and thrive. So I will start just kind of going through this. And like you said before, I can tend to get a little bit technical. So at the end, if there's anybody has any questions, happy to answer them. And I'll try to kind of keep it, pretty straightforward. But the focus of this and the presentation that we have and can kind of go over and hopefully will be very beneficial to anybody on is what we're calling it is Be Everywhere. The Be Everywhere marketing plan, how to advertise like Amazon with a local size budget. But really it could be not just Amazon, it could really be any big business and how and what they've done to be able to utilize the power of data and everything that's out there at this point to just create this incredible marketing, these incredible marketing platforms. But the great thing is that small business owners can utilize much of what they're doing. So with any presentation, any webinars, I want to make sure that there's really some really key points that everybody can takeaway and can hopefully, implement, utilize, really an action type plan. So really the three that I want to focus on, and hopefully I can hit and will allow everybody to go and put in place is really the first one is the most important one. And it's what has transformed my agency, but also the clients that we work with, is understanding data and creating your own first party database. I'm going to go through the importance of that, but I can't emphasize this enough. Data, data, data. You got to create your own first party data. You're never going to create, most likely, of course, the data Amazon has or Facebook or Google, right? But utilize some of what they offer and then make it yours over time. And I'll show you how to do that. One of the things, and especially during the pandemic and during the tougher part of, the last 8-9 months in 2020 has been, of course, the pandemic. What we emphasize and what we preach is do not stop marketing. Marketing for a business is like riding a bike up a hill. Once you stop, you go straight down. Everybody else and a lot of your competitors are still marketing, right? And the big boys are not going to stop marketing, right? Anybody who you consider a competitor, whether it's small in the same town or if it's large, depending on what type of business, they are not stopping. The ones who are doing well and going to get through this are not marketing. You have to adapt and adjust, but do not stop. And to that point, also, there's a lot of opportunities right now, right? So for those who are stopping marketing or, who unfortunately haven't made it through, this, this tough time, there's a lot of opportunities right now. There's, a different type of money out there. People are spending their money very differently, and you have to make sure that you are taking advantage of that to the extent you can. So again, my name's Ian Magley. My agency is East Main Digital Marketing. We are in New Jersey. Terrible picture up there, but this kind of gives you an idea of some of my business life period and family and that type of stuff. I'm not going to go through all this, but like I said before, the biggest thing that I think is beneficial for what we do working with small businesses is at 21, I joined my family bakery. My parents were doing about $340,000 a year, really small bakery. And over about a 10-year period, about a 2-year period, we doubled. And then over about a 10 years after that, we actually opened up 10 locations, franchised, had $1 million locations. And all of it was from marketing. And this was a lot before some of the advantages that, are out there now that we are able to now utilize, right? So most of it came from what I now build out and what we utilize, which is that first party data, right? We were doing it via email and text. And now there's so many different ways that you can do so. And again, we'll go through that. So I'm not going to focus too much on this slide, but I want to make sure that everybody kind of understands the buyer's journey and the importance of that. And we'll kind of reference this through the next few slides or the presentation in general. But most importantly, I think I want to make sure, or part of what's important with this is making sure that everybody understands that no matter what type of business you are, if you're a restaurant, if you're in e-commerce, if you're a lawyer, whatever it might be, there's a funnel, there's a journey that pretty much always has to happen, right? So you have your prospecting, which is the top of the funnel. You have your nurturing, which is your middle funnel, and then your conversion. And you need to make sure your marketing hits all of those points. And we'll go through that in a little bit. And there's multiple different ways. I know there's a bunch of stuff on here, and I'll kind of break through those. But everything you do, anything strategically and then tactically that you do in your marketing has to identify and understand what layer of the funnel it's part of. Prospecting is going to be your most costly, but you also it's your most important, because if you don't have people in the top of the funnel, obviously nobody can go through the bottom of the funnel, middle funnel, into the bottom of the funnel, right? So you have to understand how to utilize these, keep your costs down, and then create a flow in here so you can create a lot of cost efficiency and effectiveness in the other parts of the funnel. And we'll go through that a little bit more and kind of reference back. Right. So one of the biggest things that is important to understand, and especially when you're looking at different ways of marketing and trying to identify what's the quickest path, the most sustainable path to success. And I think the mindset that and I call them big boys, but you have the Amazons, you have the Googles and or those who use Google, but anybody on the larger scale, even the Walmarts and Starbucks or whatever, you can keep going on, right? They started to realize and understand that regardless of if you're looking for an online conversion or an offline conversion, a click is a lead, right? And that could be a click to your website. That could be a click to an ad, because that now gathers some sort of data, right? And again, I'll go into this a little bit deeper before, but in some capacity, by getting that first layer of engagement, awareness, and then engagement is what creates a lead. Right now, might not be the lead that you think of, right? A lead that comes in on a form that has, all the different information. But the first layer, the true first layer of a lead, anything that happens is a click. You need to get somebody to click on it, because once you get that, that's data. Now you can utilize that data in many, many ways, and we'll go through that. But one of the most important things, though, is also understanding that a click is an omnipresence focus, right? Don't think about it just as your website, and a lot of people do. How many people are going to get to my website? That's a major part of it. But you need to get that first level of awareness and engagement. Where to do that is the other part of the omnipresence, right? And when we started to move away from just thinking about Google and Facebook, and we still utilize them tremendously. I mean, unbelievable platforms. They are data providers. They are not, Facebook's not a business, right? Facebook isn't what you think. Facebook is a social platform, but ultimately Facebook at this point and how they've made their money is because they're a data platform. They've got so much data. Same thing with Google. Google has so much data. They know more about you than you do. But the nice thing about that is gives us as marketers and small businesses the opportunity to utilize what they've built in many different ways. But we have to think outside of just those, or making sure that you're utilizing the full capacity of Google and Facebook. Now, some crazy stats that really changed how we approach our marketing. First is, and I'm typically supposed to layer down, but I'll go through it. There's on average, people spend about 5 hours and 54 minutes a day online. Now that might have gone up. This was a stat from a little bit back. It's probably gone up since the pandemic. Crazy thing about it, though, is people only spend about 8 to 10 minutes on Google, right? Google's very focused. You go, you search, and you're gone, right? People only spend about 45 minutes to 60 minutes a day on Facebook, right? You're going a little bit here, a little bit there, but it's not what ultimately people are doing the entire time. So there's still 5 hours a day that you need to make sure that you're spending your marketing money hitting all of those areas, right? And I'll go through how to do that, but it's also what is most important and how, again, the bigger boys, the bigger businesses, those who are really thriving are understanding that you can't just use those particular platforms and expect to make headway. You need to use those platforms as your base, but then get out in a much more significant way. And I'll go through a little bit more of how we do so and how you would do so. So again, it's omnipresence, right? That's what we call it. We want to make sure our traffic, especially our prospecting, is omnipresence, and then our retargeting is omnipresence. Changed the way we work with clients, changed my mindset of marketing when I started to look into this and understanding data a little bit better. And it allows you to play outside, different playgrounds than anybody else. I went back and, a little while ago, I wanted to make sure, about a year and a half ago is what really, I really, kind of put this in play with our clients and transformed the way we've been able to market for ourselves, for them, and gives us a leg up on many other businesses that are out there. First and most important is the behavior tracking, right? And understanding what people are doing. I'm going to give you, for instance, I'm going to go through this kind of a little bit more later too, but I'm sure you see it as consumers, right? If you are in market for something, if you say something often, right, you can see ads about it. If you type it in, if you Google, if you go to a website, you are now in market for that particular item, right? That is behavior tracking, online behavior tracking. Now that is now attached in many ways offline, because you can track your phone. Your phone tracking is on there as well. That is necessary to really identify who to go after. And I'll show you what that means and how to a little bit later. You want to understand data graphs, identity graphs, and how to get access to this information beyond just Facebook and Google. You want to understand who's in market for your particular products or services, and you can't always rely on Facebook. and pay for Google and Facebook's data. You might have to initially when you're first starting, but you want to pull that in, start to pull back on how much you're utilizing them and pull that in-house as much as possible. Right. And then you have your own, and you want to be able to provide this information. Hit them everywhere like the big boys do is what we say. So, and I kind of put this is how we make it easier, but this is out there, and in the slides and in the follow-up, we'll be able to give you, this is a lot of DIY stuff. We're not here for in any particular way to kind of say, hey, we have something that is special to us, you have to use us. It's absolutely not. What we need to do, and I'm hoping at the end of this is we'll give you the tools and the ability to start getting your own tracking capabilities. And we'll send out some information that you can do it yourself, right? So the tracking software and understanding data and being able to have your own data is extremely important. We use a tool called Site Visitor Match. Again, I'll give you some, it's not proprietary to us. We can utilize that. And that's where you can start to create and make the buyer's journey transparent to yourself, right? Where you can start to identify those who are coming onto your site, then what's their behavior and prospect. Now, the crazy thing about this and this type of software, and it's out there in a lot of different ways, is it is now, because of the immense main data providers, Facebook and Google and Amazon and others that are just aggregating this over time, is it allows those who are marketers and those who want to market their business at a different level to track behavior on 5 billion URLs. Tracks 250 million adults connected to identity graphs throughout the day, and it tracks 50 billion digital behaviors received per day. It can track and then place ads on 600,000 apps. And again, this is the omnipresence approach to being able to get out there. Now you might think, all right, I'm a local restaurant, I'm a local lawyer, I'm a local dentist, or whatever it might be. Doesn't matter. You still have thousands of potential people in your area that you can start to look at as potential customers. Who's in market? Who do I need to place ads in front of? And all of this is the type of stuff that will allow you to start doing so. And there's some tools at the end that will allow you to provide that type of information. So what happens is you want to identify the path. Once you start to utilize some of these tools, you want to start to understand and identify what's the path for your particular customers. What's the journey, right? You want to be able to see who's visiting your website, start tracking what they're doing, right? So if you have, let's say you're trying to think of what type of business, but let's say you're some local retailer, or let's say it's a manufacturer of some sort, right? And even if it's local and you manufacture for something local, people can go to different parts of your site, right? So if you were manufacturing this particular product versus this particular product, the people who are looking at this product, doesn't matter. You don't want them to now and spend your marketing dollars on the people that are going to this one, right? So you want to start to be able to track and segment and the engagement. And there are simple ways to be able to do so. And that's how you really start to create efficiency and effectiveness within your marketing dollar. Now you want to promote on all channels. You get Facebook and Google, but now Google, a lot of people just think of Google search. There's Google Display, there's YouTube, there's a thing called RLSA, which is basically retargeting approaches. And again, I have a whole document that people can utilize at the end of this that is really, really powerful to doing so, right? And that starts to allow you to save money. It's also utilizes the strength of your competitors. Now, if everybody has competitors. If you start to recognize how to utilize, whether it's keywords or some of the in-market behaviors or some of the interests and that type of stuff around your competitors as well, you can essentially steal their audiences in a sense, and you know that they're in market. And there's nothing more powerful than that, right? If they're already in market to somebody that's your exact competitor, and you can identify those individuals, now not individuals by name, but individuals by online activity, you're now able to prospect to people that you know are your exact audience. And a most important part, or a very significant part of that, is being able to create a closed loop conversion, right? So you think about that funnel again, you need to keep it into that funnel. If there's leaks in the funnel, that's leaks in money, right? So in any business, I was in the restaurant business, right? That's where I was, prior to this. And we had our cost of goods, right? And we had our waste. And the waste, what was our biggest thing with cost of goods, right? So if somebody was making, a burger or a panini or something of that nature and had to throw one out, we had to make 10 more or sell 10 more in order to make back the lost profit from that burger that they threw out. Same type of thing that happens in your marketing, right? If you are leaking in your conversion, right, you're not taking that data, utilizing that data, retargeting, nurturing, and bringing it down to conversions, you're leaking and you're spending a lot of extra money. And this happens a lot of times in small businesses, is they spend a lot on Google, a lot on Facebook, don't get a whole lot of traction, get frustrated and give up. Or they've used an agency who wasn't the right fit for that particular type of business. And they get frustrated and lose a lot of money. And that's why, again, this is why I know I can get a little technical in here, but this is why I'm trying to really focus on building your own data and identifying ways to be able to capture and keep that and then remarket and retarget to that. So I'm going to go through a couple slides of what we use as site visitor match. I'm going to go through that and kind of the importance, and really just a lot of this is an understanding of how it works, so that when you put in, even if you're just doing Facebook ads, even if you're just doing Google ads or something to start with, right, you can start to see the importance of how longer term to be able to utilize the information that's coming into your website and clicking on these ads in order to, and then you can start to expand out, from that. So we have a tool called Site Visitor Match. Again, what it does is allows, as we get people to our website or our client's website, it actually gives us the ability to understand what their in-market behaviors are for. Or what they're in market, what they are in market for, excuse me. It also allows us to capture email addresses, right? So once you get them to the website, they're cookied, they're your audience, and you can start getting their email addresses. That's what you want to build. Now, maybe you don't want to do this. Maybe not everybody has enough traffic for it initially, but so this is a particular tool. But most importantly, on every single website, there needs to be some way for you to be able to capture and grab information. Because that data, that email address, that phone number, that name, whatever it might be, that is yours. You now own that. You can do whatever you want. And now you can push it back into ad campaigns, which I'll show you how to do. Or you can use it to send out emails. That is your conversion. Now you think back at that funnel, right? Somebody comes to your website, doesn't mean they're ready to buy. You need to nurture them. You need to go through the steps. And again, it doesn't matter if it's an e-commerce, if it's a restaurant, if it's a lawyer, if it's a dentist. I'll show you in another slide the steps that it takes to get people, to purchase. And different businesses are a little bit different. But if you're not getting them to the website and then capturing them and then retargeting them and nurturing them, you're basically spending a whole lot of money to get them to one spot, and then you're losing them, right? I'm going to use the analogy of a restaurant. It's like somebody walking into the restaurant, looking around and thinking about it, and there's nobody, no server or no hostess or whatever it might be, to say, hi, how are you? Is it table for two or table for four, right? And they walk out. That's the first step of the funnel, and not getting that information is like letting somebody just walk out. So again, here's what happens and again, I get a little technical and happy to answer questions later, but here's what happens in the digital marketing world, right? We're going to use Bob as his name. He's got multiple devices. Most people have somewhere between 4 and 6 devices that they use on a daily basis. You have your iPad, your iPhone, your laptop, your desktop, your Alexa, your smart TV. All of those are marketing and behavior-based, understanding behavior, right? So if what I do on my laptop versus my desktop versus my phone versus my iPad are all very different, but all of them are different behaviors. We need to understand all of those, have that information, and then you can understand the profile of who you actually want to reach out to, right? So Bob goes in and he goes to a site, he goes on to a certain site, he goes on to a competitor site, he's cookied, right? He has that information. Maybe he logs in so they capture his email, or maybe even doesn't, but he's cookied, he's in that browser. And what he does now on those sites is it starts to sync to his email address, right? And what's important is that email address now needs to sync through multiple layers of data. And this is great by having your own email address. Just getting one email address of an individual can now attach it to the others, right? So I know this is a little bit scary. It's a little bit, from a consumer standpoint, it's a little scary because you think about how much information there is out there about you that starts to create your online profile, right? So if you were looking for an Audi, you're going to see Audi commercials or Audi ads. You're going to see BMW ads. You're going to see Mercedes ads, right? Those are all going to pop up because now you're in market, and it's all based on this type of an approach where you're starting to get cookied. You're starting to get your profile has been getting filled up. Now your profile becomes a cryptographic hash, right? So this is where they don't see your personal information per se, but it all starts to fill up. Every single person has these across the internet. Now you can delete cookies, you can do all of that stuff, but it really doesn't delete all of it because you have all of these different devices, email addresses, all these things are attached. So from a marketer and from a small business, it's great. From a consumer, might not be the greatest thing. And over time, there's always laws that kind of change a little bit. The fact of the matter is it's too important to commerce at this point for not being able to utilize data in marketing for it to go anywhere, especially when, Google and Amazon and Facebook and some of those others control so much of it. All right. So again, we talked about it before. So what happens now is you can attach it to, usually most people have an average of about 2.6. So let's say 3 emails that they use in a day, right? You've got your business email, your Gmail, maybe you have an old Outlook, Yahoo, AOL, whatever it might be, right? So you have different email addresses. Again, that's a different layers of behavior. They use about 2.5 to 3 devices per day. And a lot of people, I think, probably use more than that. And that gives you can potentially attract to the identity of about 200 million people across these platforms, right? So I'm just focusing on initially the platforms, the bigger platform, Facebook and Google, and then how to utilize those to go forward. So I know we're a little tight on time. I want to try to move forward on these. And I'm going to get to a couple other key points. So where I really wanted to go with this is starting to, again, so you have Facebook ads, you have Google ads, you have some of the ads that you're starting to do. Now, the first step we talked about was a click is a lead, right? So getting the ability to get somebody to click on an ad, click on something, search, and then click, search engine optimization. So they're clicking on there. That's the first step. Next step is getting them somewhere, and that's to your website, right? So your website, and again, this is regardless of if you're online business, if you're retail, brick and mortar, if your services brick and mortar, manufacturer, mixture, whatever it might be, you need to get traffic and awareness, and the website is going to be the best way to do so. Very few people go to a website without some level of intent and in-market behaviors behind that, right? So you need to think about yourself. All of your marketing, the basis of your marketing needs to figure out, how do I get people to my website? It's the same type of approach, like I said, with the restaurants, getting people in the door. But if you don't, that's the first step, right? So you got them in the door. Now you have to nurture them. But the thing is getting them in the door, right? You got to think about everything in your business. And again, doesn't matter if you're brick and mortar or online. Are your website visitors your greatest profitability of profits? Of course, they're in market. They're there for a very particular reason. They're the quickest path to profits. They're the best use of your resources for profits. And the greatest opportunity today for profits. If they are there, they potentially want something for you, right? So I'm just going to go, I skipped back on one, but hold on, all right. So I'm missed on one slide there, but basically the intent again is once they get to your website, now the stuff that we just talked about, it gives you the ability in this data now. So the data that initial data we were also talking about, I kind of skipped over a little bit, was you have your first party data, which is your email address that you're grabbing. It's information about your customers that you're grabbing as much as possible. You want to build that. In each one of my restaurants, we had over 30,000 email addresses in each one. We had 10 locations. Those were gold to us because I didn't have to pay for a single ad after I was able to acquire those. I just sent out emails and texts and was able to market for everything that we needed to do. That's again, taking somebody else's data, right? Facebook's or Google's, bringing it to you. Now it's your first party data. Now you can utilize it. The best part about that is instead of now paying for prospecting, you can still use these platforms, but now you're just sending ads in front of people like you're sending emails, right? So if you have a huge database, and I'm going to give you the exact ways to do this. huge database. Now your prospecting or your retargeting becomes incredibly low cost because you're sending it out to the exact people who you want to see your ads, or the exact lookalikes that or the exact same, we call them avatars, right? So there's basically the same demographics, geographics, and psychographics that are in your database. Now your prospecting goes from, I'm just going to say, let's say it used to be $15 per lead to prospect, right? But once you have a huge database, you know exactly who they are. You have their information, you have their behavioral and psychographic background that you're able to utilize within email, Facebook pixel, Google tag, and some of these other pieces, these other areas of being able to capture data. Now you're able to push this data and these ads out in front of the right person at the right time with the right message all the time, instead of throwing darts blind, blind in the dark, which happens a lot of times in the marketing field. Go through that one real quick. So again, going back to that funnel, you want to create awareness that creates consideration, and then it creates conversion, which we're kind of calling preparation in here, preparation to close essentially the deals, right? So you need to create these different steps. That's incredibly important by being able to get that information out there, utilizing some of the major platforms at first, capturing it, and then utilizing your own first party data to build significantly. What we preach with our clients to be able to do this, and we do this, in what this changes once you start to put it in place, is the difference between linear growth, where you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you got 1 sale, 2 sales, 3 sales, 4 sales, and 5 sales, right? That slow growth. Once you have your first party data, you're saving money, reinvesting that money into a much higher level of marketing or even operational, right? That creates exponential growth, right? That's where you can go from 1 sale to 2 sales to 4 sales to 8 sales to 6 sales, because your marketing dollar is now going so much further, and you're able to hit them in so many different ways, right? So just one Facebook ad, hoping that just that, without any retargeting, remarketing, or capturing their data, is your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 approach. Facebook ad, Google ads, utilizing the entire Google stratosphere with all the different types of marketing that they have, starting to get into different levels of marketing through other platforms, utilizing email, text, all those different things collectively creates exponential growth opportunities. And that's the power of marketing the right way and marketing utilizing your own first party data. Okay, so I'm going to go real quick through these, but one of my favorite quotes is success in business has a lot to do with knowing something others do not know, right? And that is, again, that's your data, understanding who is in market, right? So you're looking at a busy, doesn't look like New York City right now, unfortunately, but you're looking like at a busy downtown, busy city, right? All those potentially could be your customers, right? Let's say you're a dentist. Everybody needs, something, but a lot of them might not be in market right now for your services, right? But if you start to understand that and know that and are able to capture that and focus your marketing just on that, that's going to create a significantly different level of marketing. So what I want to put in here, and like Andy said, we're going to send out the slides. Now there's a lot in here, and I know these are a ton, might be too much, but this is gold right here. I just might not realize it until you look into it, but this tells you exact steps of how to create lookalike audiences in Facebook and Google, and how to create, utilize your own first party that you have now. So if you have a email database of 100, or if you have an email database of 10,000, you can create such a significant boost in your marketing right away by understanding and looking at these steps and being able to market directly to the people that you need to market to, right? So it's those who are already in market, who are in funnel perhaps, or those who are the lookalikes and the avatars of your perfect audience. And that's exactly what these instructions and steps will do. This is something that can change, just by putting this in, can change a lot of what you do from a marketing standpoint. That's it, Andy. That's all I got. I know I went through a lot there, but hopefully it was beneficial. And again, like I said, these particular slides right here can be, really, really helpful for anybody who wants to, give them a look.
Thanks, Ian. And if you can stop sharing, I'll take over. one of the things that he covered a lot, and I know in the beginning I had prefaces, this is kind of like 300 and 400 level content if you think about it from like a college perspective. Um, and if you're overwhelmed, that's okay, because it's just showing you like where you could be, right? And there's tools there that can get you there. You just have to find kind of the right guide to implement this. And obviously, you could figure it out on your own, or you could find somebody to help you with that. And that's why at Midwest Family I brought Ian on here, because we can work with you to come up with strategies like this. This is even more advanced than probably a lot of people are aware of. But that's why I was so excited about having Ian on here today, because it's showing like where you could be with some energy, effort, and the right kind of minds behind your marketing strategy. So one of the things that I don't want to be missed, because he went pretty fast, was that he had talked about the first party data. And data can be very confusing if you're not a right brain, not confusing, can be very overwhelming or not interesting if you're not like a super data geek, like maybe like myself. But essentially being able to take all of the people on your site, like people that are actively on your site, and cloning them and finding other people that are just like them and marketing to them too. If you walk away with just that understanding of the ability to be able to do that, that is how you can take your tiny local budget and have a huge impact with it, with the visitors that are already visiting your site. They're already visiting your site. And it's just some web technology, some tools and some software that you need to put behind that. But it's super important to be able to plug the hole in your advertising dollar funnel. Like all the money you're dumping in the top, if you don't have a strategy to at least start building something like this, the larger the holes are going to be and more of your dollars that are going to leak out the sides before you see the ROI or return on ad spend that you possibly could with having at least a glimpse of a strategy like this. And you can start. My suggestion is start 100. Start kind of like the 100 level stuff with the basics, the remarketing, the website behavior type stuff. And as you start to layer that on top, and we're here to help you with that, be able to kind of help you hit your goals. So if anyone has any questions, I'm just kind of talking to fill some air here, but I'm sure there is some out there. Feel free to add it to the chat box. I can also enable your camera if you want to talk rather than type. So feel free to raise your hand in the chat box, and I can interject that. We have Ian here. Again, you will get these slides. This is being recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel. You'll get this recording plus the slides for registering here. He was super generous in giving you kind of the really play-by-play notes near the end. So,
and I think one thing that again, kind of going pretty quick there, is, one other takeaway I think would be super important for anybody. And this is something, you could Google and do yourself if you haven't already, and you don't have anybody else marketing for you, and that it's free and incredibly important, is your current website is putting the Facebook pixel and what's called the Google Tag Manager. Those are what pulls and grabs the data and turns Facebook's full data now into your data to be able to start to remarket and retarget on their platforms. Without that, you can't do that. So when you go onto somebody's website and now you see ads all over the place everywhere you go, that's what's doing that initially, right? So for anybody who doesn't or hasn't done that, or has somebody did your website and you don't know if they've done it, first thing I would do after this is go and make sure you have the Facebook pixel and Google Tag Manager on your website, because that's the foundation, the basis of anything that we kind of went through a little bit on here. And again, I know I went through a little bit high level, like Andy said, but that's a first step that will help you start to get there.
And then, Ian, we have a question from Tony. He said, out of the almost 6 hours online and 2.5 hours on Facebook, Google, and Instagram, any idea what's happening with the remaining time?
Yeah, it's a great question. Typically, and I kind of jumped over that, and I typically go through it. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, so it is, it could be ESPN.com, CNN.com, FoxNews.com. It could be the Weather Channel. It can be considered apps at this point too, right? So if you're on an app for a long time, if you're on TikTok, that's online. If you're on email, right? All of those are considered online times, and that's where there's ads. Or I'm surprised Zoom doesn't have ads on them yet, to be honest with you, because people are on Zoom a ton, right? That's one of the few places that does not have marketing yet. That people are online, right? So, and then Twitter, of course, is a big one. Snapchat, all of those different things, and that's where you just kind of understand your audiences too, right? Because if you're, manufacturing auto parts, maybe those might not be for Snapchat or for TikTok. Right. But, you want to understand that. And that's where a lot of the time, the rest of that time goes. It's everywhere. And that's where you see, even in Google, in Gmail, rather. Part of the Gmail kind of advertising stratosphere is in email marketing. Right. And now you've got ads popping up in your email because people are in email all day long.
Yeah, and Tony, this is also like when people are playing on apps, all the free apps that are filled with ads, your favorite blog posts where the person that owns that page, they earn income by basically leasing out their website.
Right.
Real estate, alongside of the quality content they're giving you, WebMD, all of those websites, you can as a business owner reach people on a number of different ways based off of what they're searching, what their past behavior was, their online behavior, their search words or keywords. It is mind-blowingly cool from a marketer's perspective, but also exciting from a business owner's perspective to be able to really, cover the middle and the bottom of the funnel that Ian went through, to be able to reach those people at the right time, at the right place. And that's kind of like the be everywhere part that Ian had shared today, to where it's like, hey, once your customers start telling the internet a little bit about, based off of how their behavior is, you as a business owner can get your brand in front of them based off of that behavior. So it's pretty exciting, but also a little bit overwhelming. If
it is, it
once
can
you
be
dive
overwhelming.
into all like the gears and it's like if you don't know anything about cars and you open up your hood and you start just taking stuff out and unscrewing things. It's a quick way to ruin your car, but you could rebuild it and fix everything inside if you know what you're doing, or if you have right guidance. So cool. Well, we only have a couple minutes left. Thank you so much for your question, Tony. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Ian. I loved this. This is really helpful for me as a data nerd. I'm so excited this is recorded, and thank you so much for the resources and investing the time that you did
absolutely.
for today. I do want to talk about next in 2 weeks, we have a little bit of a different topic. So as we go into the recruiting season, Michelle Mollard she is an EOS specialist, and she helps small businesses create systems and processes. In particular, she's really going to focus on how to attract and retain amazing employees and how to repel the toxic ones. Because I know that one of the biggest expenses in your business is your people. And if you have the wrong people on the bus, they can be some of the most expensive mistakes and largest headaches that you as a business owner could ever experience, that keep you up at night, make you want to pull your hair out if you have anything, if you have more than I got, and be able to help you out. So she's in Michigan. She's out over in Michigan, but she'll be joining us and sharing her expertise and having a lot of key takeaways for you to help make your people better and just get rid of the rest of the people that are going to drive you nuts. So right now we are at the end of our time. So thank you so much. You will be getting the email follow-up from registering today. You'll get an invite for this one, also the slides. So we really appreciate you investing your time with us today. I know you got a lot of value out of it. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or TK, which is the email previous email here. So Teresa, and we can help you guys out. So thanks again for being here, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much.